Hi again. I know all of my students from my classes know my dogs, but since all the 5th graders are going to be watching these videos now, I wanted to introduce them. So this is Lucy here, and then this one's Pepper. And like I've said before, I have to use food in my math lessons to keep them paying attention and listening. You probably didn't know it, but they were in the video yesterday. Unfortunately, they fell asleep. So I told them I would get them more involved today so that they could stay awake during the video. And so I'm gonna, try to involve them in today's lesson. And like we talked about yesterday, we talked about quadrilaterals and that was going to be our main focus, but we did do some review things with quadrilaterals first. So today we're going to, really get into quadrilaterals and some of their characteristics. And if you were in class, what I would do is I'd give you a bag that had some mystery shapes in it. And this kind of helps to really think about the characteristics or the attributes of the shapes if you're not looking at it. So what you would do is you would just fill the shape and you would try to think about the characteristics that you're filling. Oh no, Lucy's already getting tired, but we'll try to keep this interesting. So we'll, fill it. You're not going to look at it. You can tell that it has straight sides, and, I can tell that it has 4 sides. So I'm still, just kind of, without seeing it, I can tell that it has 4 corners. And so you'll just kind of list some of the attributes, and then you would write those down. And so this ended up being a rectangle that I was looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and look at another one and kind of come up with some of its attributes. I can tell that this next one doesn't have right angles, but it does still have 4 sides. So this one, not knowing for sure if you know the name or not, I'm still just kind of looking at the characteristics of it. And I know it also has 4 sides. So I'm going to see if Pepper will help me now, and he'll bring me some more characteristics. So I want you to come up with the characteristics so you can think about some of the characteristics of these 4-sided shapes. And as we said yesterday, we already know that 4 sides and 4 angles means a quadrilateral. So let's look at one of these other characteristics. Pepper, come here. Let's see what you got here. Oh, let's see. Oh, so you're thinking of one that has 4 right angles. So that would be the rectangle. The rectangle has 4 right angles. So that's one of the characteristics of a rectangle. And I know, on the scavenger hunt, I showed you some pictures of rectangles. So that's one of the characteristics. So Lucy, let's see what else we might have. Oh, so this one, the opposite sides are parallel. So that also would describe this rectangle. The opposite sides are parallel. Very good. So Pepper, you want to come up with something else? Oh, the opposite sides are congruent. So the opposite sides, so I'm looking at the opposite sides. They are congruent or the same length. And then we also know that the opposite sides, Pepper really wants this rectangle, that the opposite sides are parallel as well. So they'll never meet. They'll run side by side. So that's some of the characteristics of the rectangle. Now, I also have another one from Lucy, and hers goes back to this figure. This figure has 1 set of parallel sides, and you'll see that this figure, a trapezoid, has 2 different definitions. Sometimes you'll hear it as 1 set of parallel sides only, and then sometimes you'll hear it as at least 1 set of parallel sides. So we're going to use the definition of at least 1 set of parallel sides. So that's what I want you to think about. So that also means that some of the other figures, the rectangles, could be considered trapezoids because they have at least one set of parallel sides. But we'll talk more about that later. Let's see if there's anything else that I have in my mystery bag. Oh, these have, what do you think, guys? 4 sides, and they're all equal. It also has right angles. So this is what they found on their scavenger hunt. They found squares, which squares are rectangles because they have 4 right angles. The opposite sides are parallel and the opposite sides are congruent. But they also have something special. They have 4 sides that are the same length. So for doing so well, I'm going to go ahead and let them have a treat. So we've looked at some of the characteristics of squares. We've looked at some of the characteristics of trapezoids. Now another quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So to be a parallelogram, we have to have parallel sides, so the opposite sides are parallel. We have 2 sets of parallel sides. So that's what we think of as a parallelogram. So that means that the squares and rectangles would also be parallelograms because they have 2 sets of parallel sides. And then we also have another figure, a rhombus. So we can think about what the sides look like on the rhombus. And if we measured this, we would see that all 4 sides are equal. So a rhombus has 4 equal sides. And the opposite sides are parallel. So the rhombus would also be a parallelogram. And then the square, we know the characteristics of a square are to have equal sides. So a square would also be considered a rhombus. But not all rhombuses are squares because the rhombus doesn't have the right angles. And then, let's see, I think we've covered most of them today. We'll look at another quadrilateral, a kite, later on this week. So I just wanted to leave you with one last thing, and that is a game that you can play. And, I think Lucy and Pepper would like this game. What it's called is spoons. And you may have played this with just regular cards, but this is quadrilateral spoons, where you will have 4 different cards that all match up to the same quadrilateral. And you'll be able to find this in your Google Classroom. You'll have the definition, you'll have 2 pictures, and then just the name. And what you'll do is you'll play it just like you will spoons. You have to get these 4 matches. And once you have these 4 matches, then you will grab a spoon. And then everybody else that's playing will also grab the spoon. And then the one that doesn't get the spoon, then they get an S. And you just continue playing until the person that spells out spoons ends up being out in the game. So I hope you enjoyed this game. There's also an assignment in your Google Classroom to work on with quadrilaterals. And I'll see you tomorrow. Stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.